So a huge introduction from the standpoint that we've never done this before. You know, we've certainly done this with cruise companies, and I've done it with clients at different events, but we decided to try something different. And we were actually, Kate and I were talking at ILTM, and we were like, could we do this as a training tool and actually do a moderated panel and take a hotel company that you may or may not know that much about and actually bring their executives in and really talk the gamut from the culture, new development, design, sales, marketing. So that's really the goal of today. And I'm honored and touched that we have this esteemed panel that everybody from Morgan's Hotel Group came. So I just wanted everybody to make their introduction, and Barely we can start with Nancy. You get to go first.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thanks for having us. And we are going to brag to all of our competitors in the industry. My name is Dan Flannery. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Morgan's Hotel Group. And I've been with Morgan's, actually it'll be 2 years tomorrow, so relatively short term. So I am accepting anniversary gifts anytime I close a business today. And but I joined. I spent most of my career growing up through the Marriott organization. I ran the Riga Royal when it was before it was the London here in New York, and ran both Ritz-Carltons. I spent 7 great years with Ritz-Carlton, and then moved over to the Edition side, starting up Edition with Ian Traeger and a small team there. Really quick, funny story that I was at the Ritz-Carlton Central Park. We were telling the story on the way over. I think I was sitting right across from you, and we were having dinner with Valerie and some of the team, Jennifer, and I hadn't told them yet that I was leaving. So we were having dinner at BLT Market, and I didn't realize. I knew that Ian was very creative and he was eccentric, and I know a lot of people didn't really care for him, but I didn't know his history with Val. So
yeah. I'm
sitting right next to her, and she's kind of having a conversation with somebody else, and I said, yeah, I'm leaving Ritz-Carlton. She kind of heard that, but she still kept her conversation going. And Kimberly says, oh, what are you doing? I said, I'm starting up the Edition brand with Ian Traeger, and I see this horrified look, and she's giving me the cut, and Val's head snaps around like, you're doing what with that? But
we know our Valerie isn't shy when it comes to opinions, so.
But really great experience. When we're done introductions, I'll give you a little more history on our company. But it was started by Ian Traeger, but he's not been involved for a long time. But we have a great team of people that we worked with for a while who are doing some pretty interesting things that we're grateful to have the opportunity to share with you. So thanks for having us.
Good afternoon. It's tough to go after this. I'll give it a go. My name is Gary Thomas, and I'm the General Manager of Mondrian SoHo. I've been with Morgan's, this is my 10th year, having been fortunate to work in London, Miami, and now New York. And so excited to be here today, and I'm looking forward to get to know you a little better. So thank you for having me.
I'm Verena, Head of Design at Morgan's Hotel Group, with the company now almost 1.5 years. And before that, I was actually working directly with Ian Traeger, doing the design for 3 years. I moved to New York about 12 years ago from Europe. I'm from the very north of Italy, and worked at an architectural company before, head of the hospitality design department, and was very happy when I met Dan and Lee and Josh at Edition, and that's how I ended up at Morgan's. Very exciting. Great, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. I'm Kate Harth, and I oversee sales for Morgan's Hotel Group. And I spent the last 12 years with Ritz-Carlton, majority of it here in New York, overseeing sales for our Battery Park and Central Park property, and then spent 2 years launching the Edition brand with some of my camaraderies here. There'll be a pattern here. And then the last 1.5 years with Morgan's, and really, I think our story is really compelling and really interesting, and I think it's not just about growth like so many hotel companies. I think it's just absolutely intriguing about what we've done in the last 2 years with the company, but also giving reference to what happened in the past with them. So I'm excited for this afternoon. Thank you.
My name is Josh Fluhr. I'm the head of the operations team for Morgan's. I've been there for just about the same amount of time, 1.5 years.
Seen any trends here?
Yeah. You guys all hate working together.
Came up through Star Wars, was here in New York at W for a couple of years, both Times Square and Union Square, and then went to work at corporate for creation and launch of the Loft brand. And then was called out to California by a company called SPD to create the SLS brand in Beverly Hills. We're Beverly Hills, we say it's Beverly Hills, it's actually LA. The front of the building's LA, the back of the building's Beverly Hills, so we say Beverly Hills. And then got a call from Dan to come help work on Edition, and made that call and changed jobs into Edition, and then followed into Manager of Mondrian. So I'm very excited to be here. I think we've got a great story, and it's fun to finally get in touch with people who help us make the business as exciting as it is. So thank you for having us, and look forward to spending time with you.
Yeah, I'm Pauletta Kaufman, and I'm your Global Account Director for Travel Industry. The thing that's really great to be here is actually this is my first time of being in this office.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll be here twice this month, so yay. I actually got a call almost a year ago, actually a year ago now,
Yeah.
from Kate Harth, and Kate and Dan are two people from my days when I was with Ritz-Carlton that I really wanted to work more closely with, and I felt really fortunate that they had asked me. At that time, I was actually on the agency side, so I have a very interesting perspective, because when I was on the agency side working on a hotel program, I actually had a great paradigm shift. And I really got to see how many suppliers you see every day, but how many suppliers bring in their COO and their general manager and their VPs of design and sales and operations. So I think that one of the things that really stood out to me and that was intriguing about coming on board a year ago was the commitment to the travel industry community and the understanding at top levels of the need for the segment that you work on. Your clients are not going to be Travelocity bookers or Expedia bookers. Your clients are very high-end. They want something specific. And when they need to make a change, I know they're calling you. So I wanted to be a part of it. And so there I am, and here I am. So thanks for having us, and thanks, Kimberly and Emily, for setting us up.
This is great. So clearly a very distinguished panel. You guys know the rules, and if you guys kind of know the rules, we do long answers, rapid fire. I will sometimes direct a question to a single person, but if you really want to jump in, jump in. At any point you guys have a question, just raise your hand. We will do Q&A sort of at the end. But it is really meant to be a dialogue and interactive, so we can all come away learning a little bit more. Any questions before we get started? We're good to go? Okay. So I think we're going to start with Dan. Clearly there's been, I like to put you on the spot. The friendship goes back a long way. Obviously, I think many of us kind of think of what Morgan's was, or there's this perception of what we think it might be. And you've really come in to sort of rebrand this hotel company. So give us a little bit of what your vision is and where you see the company going, to set the stage a little bit so everybody can come away knowing with what your sort of platform is.
I start with the history of Morgan. So if you don't know the history of Morgan, it was started by Steve Rubel and Ian Schrager back in the early 80s, and people argue about who was the first kind of boutique hotel company, but if it wasn't Ian and Steve, they were certainly one of the first, and we take credit for being the first. So. And it really launched a new segment. It was non-hotel guys. They were formerly of Studio 54 back in the 70s, and the old Studio 54 was a real phenomenon. It was only open for a year and a half, and yet 40 years later, people that never went there heard about it, and there's movies been done about it, and they became great club guys who actually kind of stumbled into the hotel business by accident and decided to do something that was different, and it was based on their taste and their aesthetic and their style, and it incorporated their priorities. So they wanted to do a hotel design that was different, that was more in line with the way they lived their lives. They wanted employees that were vibrant and energetic and less formal, and uniforms that weren't a big feather cap and stripes on the thing, that would represent kind of more the way their generation lived their life. Music programming that was different. Big emphasis on bars and restaurants and nightlife and socializing spaces, and not a real formal environment. And it was a phenomenon. It was they wanted running much higher rates than anybody thought that they would. But it was really focused on, anytime you see kind of non-hotel people start hotels, a lot of times it's fashion background or marketing, PR driven, and you know, the knock on the business, rightly so, and on that whole segment, was that it was, you know, really cool space, really interesting, but the execution was very poor. And, you know, it was people that really didn't understand what you guys do or the travel industry. And, you know, Ian, I love him, but I still think he doesn't get that part of the business. He's very design focused and marketing and PR and nightlife focused. And really what we were trying to do with Edition is to take all those things that he did really well, but put it on a better chassis, give it more substance, and bring in some operating process that people really understand, you know, how to build a strong culture that can lead to great service delivery and consistency and engage with the travel industry in a more effective way. And you know, I think we're making some good headway. You know, there was an article when Hudson first opened that I saw. It was a review of Hudson, and the first paragraph said, if you're the type of person who doesn't mind waiting for an hour and a half for your room service, if it's delivered by someone that looks like a high fashion model, do we have a hotel for you? And it was a knock.
Not exactly the endorsement you were looking for, probably.
This is long before my time with Morgan's, but you know, we want to move beyond that, right? So we still want to have cool spaces that are different and unique and stylish and great socializing, but we're trying to execute better. And we follow a pretty simple model. Those of us who kind of grew up through operations in the company is that you know, if you want to create a great guest experience, it has to start with a great employee experience, and you got to create a culture that people get excited about and that really speaks to them, that they buy in, that they care what they're a part of at all levels of the organization, from the general manager to the housekeepers and dishwashers, and in all different cultures and cities and places that we're in. And so we spend a lot of time focusing on our internal culture. If we get the video to work at the end, we'll show you a snippet of something that kind of introduces our values to our employees in an exciting way. And you know, it's a lot of lessons that we learned from Ritz-Carlton about the power of the culture and how that can create a really fanatical commitment to service levels. And we're seeing it work. You know, this year, you know, in the past 2 years, we've improved our employee survey scores into what Aon Hewitt would now call best employer status. So, you know, we're really excited about the improvements that we've made there, and it's translated in a very predictable way to me to really meaningful jumps in guest satisfaction scores. So our guest surveys improved 2.5 points 2 years ago, and improved 4.5 points last year, and through the first quarter of this year, we're up another, you know, point, almost 2 points. And as that's happening, we're seeing that we're appealing to a more sophisticated traveler that likes that experience, but that demands great service.
Is there an age demographic that you're supposed to stereotype what an age of the customer
It's
should be, or
really
is it
not,
more of a
right?
mentality?
Yeah, it's more of a psychographic, right? It's people who, there are people in all walks of life who enjoy Delano or Royalton or St. Martin's Lane or Mondrian SoHo, and it's corporate clients, it's leisure, but it's really people who are looking for a different experience and looking for something that, you know, reflects their aesthetic and their taste in life.
Great. How many have stayed or seen a Morgan's Hotel? Wow.
Okay, great. Okay, that's good.
So, do you guys want a rundown of the portfolio where they are currently, or you guys are comfortable?
Who could name them all?
It's 13.
13. Okay, why don't you run through quick?
Okay. No, so Mondrian LA, Clifton San Francisco, Ames in Boston, 4 in New York, Mondrian SoHo, Hudson, Royalton, Morgan's, 3 in Miami, Shore Club, Mondrian South Beach, Delano, 2 in London, Sanderson, St. Martin's Lane, and then our 13th is Delano, Marrakesh. And then we have 8 in the pipeline.
Yeah, why don't we talk a little bit about your approach? I mean, I think that's a great segue.
Okay, so, yeah, it's a very exciting time to be part of Morgan's. If you look at the history over the last probably 3 or 4 years, we've opened 2 or 3 hotels. In the next 2 to 3 years, we're gonna, what's in the pipeline currently, open 8, arguably more. Some of them have a quicker timeline to them. Which, if you look at the growth, we're gonna go from 13 hotels to 21 or 22 hotels in the next 2 or 3 years, almost doubling the size of the company. And the footprint globally is a much more substantial and interesting story because of the places that we're going. Starting off with the most recent or the soonest to open properties in the timeline. I think we're looking at a November-ish, fourth quarter-ish opening for our next property in London, which is in the Sea Containers building, right on the Thames, south side of the river, up-and-coming area in Blackfriar. It's a 360-room property. It's going to have great restaurant space and nightlife on the roof. We're very excited about it. It's going to be a Mondrian, so that adds continual story to the Mondrian piece, which now will have five properties with that branding on it. After that, shortly thereafter that, we'll open Doha Mondrian, which is going to be, I think, a huge jewel in the middle of the Middle East for us. It's a hotel that almost spares no expense, partially by virtue of the fact that it's in a market where that happens, and partially because it's owned by a member of the royal family for Qatar. So he is sparing no expense. It's going to become a showpiece for them as a country, as well as for him as the son of the emir. And it's going to have a couple of, I'm not going to say yet what's in there because it's not been announced yet, but some very high-end restaurants with notable chefs domestically in the U.S. They're a brand collecting culture, so they want name assets. So too is the case for the spa and some other exciting things that we're doing in that building that just add to the amenities of the property. It's right in an area called the West Bay, and it's got a very cool architectural component to it. It's supposed to be a landing falcon, so got some interesting things in just in the way that it's actually designed, which again is typical from the market. So there's some things that I think it very unique and fun. That's also going to be a Mondrian.
We've never done a hotel project, any of us that did not have a budget, and the first time we asked them, what's your construction budget, they looked at each other and went,
I don't know.
That must be nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's a plus and a minus, because on the flip side, even putting together the pre-opening budget has been a little bit of a challenge, because they don't really care. And so, for me, and to try to make sure that the property team has guidelines within which to operate, you can't even set boundaries because they aren't any right now. So that's kind of an interesting spot to be in, which will make for a very exciting hotel. And then either just prior to that or just after that, depending on how the construction goes, we're converting what is currently the hotel in Las Vegas to a Delano in Las Vegas. So that'll probably be February, maybe March. That's why I say it's a plus or minus a month from the April opening. So that's 1,100 rooms, the big hotel, because it's a casino market and it's Vegas. It doesn't have its own casino, but as you probably know, it's part of the Mandalay Bay Four Seasons complex, so that would be the third brand in that quote-unquote building that then feeds into the Mandalay Bay Casino. So they'll have all those amenities, but it'll be a distinct Delano experience. Which I imagine we're going to talk to some of the design components a little bit later. After that, we've got Baha Mar is probably next, which is looking at a December 14 opening. If I have my wish about it, I'll roll to 15. I don't want opening in the holiday season. It's not a great idea, but right now the overwhelming opinion is that it will open on the 14th of December. That is part of a $3 billion project in the Caribbean, which I'm sure you've probably heard of. It will include 4 hotels, 1 Rosewood, 1 Hyatt, 1 Mondrian, and 1 to be named or Baha Mar operated casino hotel. So that one's not yet been announced. We were down there for the topping off ceremony of the largest building, which is the casino hotel in February. It's going to be quite a project. It's $3 billion and about $3 billion buy, so it's a complex. It's got 2 golf courses, or a golf course and a half, and it's 36 holes. Bahamas. So it'll become direct competition. Yeah, so it's closer to the airport than the Atlantis.
Had any of you guys heard about that? No. Interesting.
No.
It's a huge,
Cable Ridge.
So we're the lifestyle
It's in
brand.
Nassau.
It's in
It's
Nassau.
right outside of Nassau.
It's,
On the
they're
island.
building a
Yeah.
direct,
On the island,
they're building a new road
Nobody
directly
goes to Nassau
from
anymore, that's
the
why it's kind
airport
of.
to
They
that
will
Cape
now.
Beach area. It's 10
No, but
minutes.
it's true, it's just
Yeah.
been, it's been
Yeah,
off the
'cause I
charts.
think that's what I've heard.
Beyond
because of-
years, decades, I would
Yeah.
say.
Well, and the country knows that, so they've made significant investments alongside the ownership group to upgrade the airport. The airport now, the first trip we made was a disaster because it was,
Oh my God, how long did we wait?
we waited for like 40 minutes, I think, at customs to get through.
I mean, people go to Nassau, go to the outer islands, and there's nobody goes to Nassau.
And then where else are you guys going?
So that's Bahamas, and then after that, we've got Moscow, Hudson Great Scotland Yard. These dates, as you get further out, they start to get mushy, so you don't know exactly who's going to win the prize there. But Great Scotland Yard is at 1 Great Scotland Yard in London. It's going to be a Hudson. It's a conversion of the old police headquarters. Very exciting.
Yeah.
There, it's a cool building. It's got a lot of character. And then after that, we've got Moscow, where we're opening up in the third ring outside of Moscow. Moscow's, I guess, in business districts that radiate away from the center. And this is in the third, where they're doing a huge corporate, residential, and hotel complex, among other buildings that are going up for other owners. It's 200 and, what are we at? 238 plus some condo components, some brand new condos in there. Also a great, huge restaurant space, about 300 or 400 seat restaurant, which will be a specialty restaurant and some meeting space. That one's the first real great meeting space that we have as a company. And then two in Turkey. So we've got Istanbul, which is in the old city near the old Four Seasons. It's an amalgamation of 3 or 4 different buildings that he's cobbled together to create one space. It's got one of the oldest imam spa features in all of Turkey and all of Istanbul. That we will make obviously the centerpiece of the design as it relates to the spa. Small hotel, less than 100, just over 100 rooms, I think 112 or something. And then obviously as the program changes, we'll migrate a little bit. It's about 110 rooms. And then in Çeşme, which is on the coast in Turkey also, we've got a Delano project going in, and then we'll, once we get through some of the license, some of the local area regulations, we'll start working on that one. So that's probably a 2015 opening, and that rounds it out. So that's 8 projects in 3 or 4 years. So we'll be very busy, traveling a lot, a lot of fun things, and spreading the quote-unquote gospel of New Orleans, and we're very excited about that.
Super. So we've talked a little bit about Morgan's as sort of the lifestyle hotel company, but you've addressed different brands within the parent company, for lack of a better word. Is there a distinction between a Delano experience versus a Hudson experience? So why don't we talk a little bit about design, so we have a better understanding when we think we have a client who's right for Morgan's, which is the right group within the Morgan's family.
Well, I think a little helpful is what's behind here, and you can all go up and look at that. But one exercise we did over the last year with the new team was exactly that. To really define what is a Hudson, what is a Mondrian, what is a Delano. How does it need to feel, how should it look? We need to give perimeters to the different designers we're hiring, but it is very important for us to make that very clear. So looking at Delano, very exclusive, it's our high-end brand. We look at it as more of a luxury style in terms of the finishes we're using. It has very clean lines, it's very unique in terms of design, a lot of contrast, but it's, when you look at it, even if it's in an urban setting, we want to make sure it's chic, but it's at the same time casual, so you feel comfortable in there. Mondrian, our brand, which is a little bit more provocative, I would say, a little bit more out there, partying, very much playful. So I think it has a broader band, also in terms of design. So we do let a little bit more leeway when you bring a designer in terms of what the hotel should be and should look like. It's much more colorful. And then Hudson is the brand which is very social. We want to make sure the guest rooms, which are smaller, are offset by the really large and great public spaces. It's very comfortable, it's cozy. I always refer a little bit to Generation Y, because I think that kind of sums it up for me. It's very social, and it is something where people feel comfortable. It's fun. You don't mind the small rooms. All of them, we want to make sure the technology is very high up there. But all of them are very, it's not so much about what we want the space to be. It's really, we want to look at it and say, all of the different hotel brands need to make you feel something. So when you go in, you should feel comfortable in there. Your senses should be stimulated by it, if it's a Mondrian, a Hudson, or Delano. So at the end of the day, we don't want to tell you, the age group of 30 just goes into a Hudson. It's very important that everybody actually feels comfortable, and it's very distinct. And so for each of them, we did define 5 words. And based on that, we actually laid out very strong perimeters for the design. And when we go into the different markets, what we do in-house is spend quite a lot of time up front to set a design stage for the designers, give them local specific design perimeters. We're calling it a design brief, a visual design brief. And based on that, we then select the designer who's going to work with us on it. So it's a very personal relationship, and it's very well thought through.
If I can just add on the sales side, what's been great is working with design now, which I don't think really happened before in the days of Morgan. So it was whatever design had wanted, they implemented. And now it's about listening to what kind of clients we foresee going into these hotels and making sure that the rooms are not just beautiful, but that they're really functional. So more space by the sinks, right? The vanity, outlets everywhere, because we have, you know, not just male travelers, but we have female travelers as well, so they have more product, et cetera. And, you know, making sure for Moscow that we have really big, ample closets because it's never really warm there. So working with design, I think, again, never really happened in the past as much as is happening now between sales, operations, and design, which is so beneficial to your client.
Any questions? Yeah.
So, for example, let's say Royalton or St. Martin's Lane, how do we know which of these three?
So there's one other brand which is called the Originals,
Oh.
and the title suggests that they're, they were also the original hotels, on top of the fact that it's a great place to put original buildings. So buildings that have their own character, their own iconography, their own vibe and style that owners want to either maintain a name on or do something special with, that's a potential brand that we would put those buildings in. So you called some of them out, right? Morgan's,
Morgan.
Royalton, Ames in Boston, Shore Club in Miami, St. Martin's Lane, Sanderson. Those are the ones that make up the Originals. And if you've been to those places, you know that there's not a lot of common thread between each of the buildings physically, but obviously they're all Morgan's hotels, and so they share that heritage, but they don't have a lot of the design components that Verena just touched on.
If we could do it over again, we'd probably make some of them Mondrians and, you know, maybe a Delmo
Right.
or two, but, you know, they've developed such a loyal following, you know, for the people that like those kind of hotels, that, you know, we'll leave them branded as, you know, the original names that they are.
Well, Barry, why don't we talk a little bit about your baby here in New York? So, who has seen one?
What?
What was the question?
Mondrian SoHo.
So this is our, you know, as of March of this year, we're into our third year of operation. I'll tell you, it feels a little longer. And what's, as an operator, you know, what's interesting now is that a lot of the work that we've done, you know, just anecdotally, just beforehand to set the hotel up, we're seeing a lot of that in terms of benefit, and a lot of traction now. And a lot of what we've done sort of up until this point is really paying dividends. You know, the hotel itself, you know, even before when it was being conceived and prior to construction, just locating the hotel was a bit of a, you know, sort of a challenge for us. The reality is now that location is phenomenal, right? So it's one of those areas that you've got the combination of being obviously downtown, but you've got Soho, you've got Little Italy, you've got Chinatown. You know, early on was a little bit of a challenge. Was it going to work for us? In hindsight, it's actually a perfect location. You know, you've got the ability to be off the beaten track, but you're exposed to everything. You know, the largest outdoor shopping mall in the world. But you know, Soho itself has come a long way, even for the time that we've been there prior to opening and sort of seeing it now in this third year. There's a lot of change in Soho. You know, the hotel itself was opened at the time when there was lots of new inventory, and so we have lots of competition, which is great. The hotel itself, in terms of physical structure, for those of you who haven't been there, has tremendous views. You know, it's a hotel that was built on an existing building. There was a sort of a legal strip mall and a Chinese dialysis hospital, and we sort of built on top of this 10-story structure. And the views, because we're 16 floors higher than anything else, and it will remain that way because it's now, you know, historical district is extended to Lafayette, are just, you know, unique. You can look down south and you've got, you know, the three bridges, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Williamsburg. Look downtown. I mean, for anybody who hasn't been there, I encourage you to come down so we can take you up onto the penthouse and have a look, because the views are breathtaking. You know, my office is very similar to this.
I don't think that Dan would be okay coordinating something this
Maybe
spring,
I'm
this summer.
Yeah. You know, we opened a bar up on the roof too called Soak, which we opened for the first time last year. You know, outdoor space in the spring and summer in New York is at a premium, and just, you know, the reaction that we get is consistently the same from people walking out there. Look, the hotel it's a very cool space. You know,
How
Dan,
many rooms?
263 keys. 263. So it's a lot bigger than a lot of our direct competition. Actually, Crosby Street, you know, Mercer, James, a lot of those hotels are much smaller. It brings its own sort of challenges, but for us, it gives us the ability to really cross-section in terms of who we appeal to, and in terms of our market segmentation, or really be a diverse offering. But the hotel is great. It's got we are in our second iteration in terms of our food and beverage offering. We opened up with Michael Sam Talbot, we had like a restaurant that was a sustainable seafood concept, you know.
Didn't turn out to be that sustainable.
Wasn't sustainable. You know, the story I tell is in Soho, people are prepared to pay, you know, $800 for a scuffed pair of shoes, right? But if it's too shiny, it's not going to work. And I think the restaurant in hindsight was a little too shiny. Now we have an Italian concept, sort of, you know, coastal Italian, which has been very well received. You know, for want of a better expression, far more palatable for everybody. And I think the secret of our success, long-term success, is going to be having a really defined link with the local community, right? So something like a restaurant that is affordable, is understandable, is really going to draw a lot of our local community in. And that's, if you look around you, anything that's been there for a long time that's successful has a very clear link with the local community. And that's what we're working on now. And that adds value to people who are coming in to experience being in New York City, right? Because you want to be downtown, you've got that combination of all those sort of authentic, original New York experiences. So look, it's a great hotel, I have to say that, of course, I want to say that. And at the risk of sounding like I'm going to take a pay cut, it's the easiest job that I've ever had. It's a great hotel.
It's on film.
It's, you know, and we can talk to this in more detail, and I find myself always saying the same thing. You know, and Dan alluded to this, you know, 35 years ago when we built Morgan's, we built something that was very different and unique, and perhaps that was a point of distinction. Nowadays, people are building hotels like the one that I have, but the difference maker, the difference between a good hotel and a great hotel, in my opinion, is the people. And it sounds a little cliche, but it's absolutely fundamental to who we are. And the difference between, because you know, New York City has a tremendous amount of good hotels. To charge $500 a night, you have to be a good hotel, but there are very few great hotels. And what we strive to do under Dan's direction is really change that cultural feel. Find the right people, keep the right people, and just give them the tools to do their job, because that's about as much as we can do, right? So the rest has to be innate, has to be passionate, and that's the difference maker. And that's my job, is to really just make sure people understand that and live it, right? You can't mandate it. And that's the key difference.
Feeling it.
Absolutely.
So when you talk a little bit about this new vision for Morgan's and clearly under Dan's leadership, where do you hope to see yourselves in like sort of 1, 3, 5 years, besides the physical growth of sort of doubling your portfolio, but talk a little bit about this culture that you've developed, because I think that was one of the reasons why you made the shift and you created the team that you have. And I think that becomes interesting for us because it's a sales tool that we can use in fitting the right clients to your properties.
You know, Morgan's, it was easy with addition because it was a blank slate. There were no employees, there was nothing started there, so you know, none of us kind of got together, and anybody that joined the organization, you know, got hit up front saying, it's just like Ritz-Carlton. Ritz-Carlton has their Credo card, I'm sure you've seen it. You know, it sounds corny, but I still have my Credo card in my mom, right? Because once you're a part of that, you're proud to be part of it, you're proud to be selected to join the organization, and it's almost tribal, right? You say, well, this is part of this, and here's what it stands for. So that's really what we aspired to take some of those learnings from Ritz-Carlton and what we did with Addition, and bring it, some of that to Morgan's, but the trick with Morgan's is there was already a very strong culture and a lot of pride in the organization you know, for the things that they did well that were distinctive. And you know, if you didn't sign up for it, anybody that's worked in the service industry, if you have something new that's come along, you've worked there for 20 years, and somebody comes in and says, all right, great, we've got this great new culture now, we've got these cards, and you're going to carry this, you know, it's a program, and it wasn't what you signed up for. And so what we wanted to do was to get people to be a part of defining it in an even more powerful way, to take it to the next level, respect what was done that was great in the past, but give it a little bit more you know, backbone on the service side, and do it with people, get their buy-in. We had a great retreat in the Poconos about a year and a half ago, and we brought a number of people in our company together. There was probably about 40 out there that were GMs and some of the corporate staff and people with all different backgrounds. Before we did it, we did you know, a road show where we went to do focus groups with groups of employees to say, you know, what needs to be improved, what should be you know, respected and not touched that you're really proud of, and do it in a collaborative way. It took longer to do it that way, but at this retreat it was a lot of fun for us. We took people with all different backgrounds and we said, you know, do a presentation to the broader group on aspects of the culture of the organization that you were a part of that you think changed employee behavior or changed the way services were delivered. Because that's the goal, right? It can't be, if it's just a vision statement on the wall, it didn't impact anybody's, you know, the way they do things, then, you know, it's a waste of time. So We had people from Hyatt that did Hyatt. We did Ritz-Carlton together. Josh did SLS. We had people that did the Traeger Company. We had people that did, a number of other hotel companies. And then we had people assigned to say, go study the cultures of other successful kind of lifestyle brand companies. We took Apple and Virgin, and it was our presentation and a half an hour of Q&A. And we had flip chart notes that was going through about either concepts or principles that helped kind of get people committed to the real fundamental things in our business. If you think about our business on the service side, it's not rocket science. It's smile, look the guest in the eye, use the guest's name, introduce yourself, be good at problem resolution, keep the place clean, all those things, empower your employees, but how well you do those and how well you communicate those, I think is, 90% of the game, to really get it and buy in. And so we wanted to look at how we communicated those things. We developed, we took the original kind of 7 core values of Morgan's, added to that we thought were important: passion and integrity. And then we kind of crafted with a big group, broad group, a statement that we call our ethos that incorporates those 9 core values into an aspirational statement, and it's on the card. And to get the card, they have to memorize and recite details. They can only get it from the general manager. And orientations.
Are you allowed to share that with us?
Absolutely.
Can you read it? Or?
Oh, I don't need to read it. I have to have it memorized. All right, so our ethos is we dare to be pioneers in cultured lifestyle hospitality. We're a family of passionate individuals dedicated to curating original guest experiences in a friendly, attentive, and gracious manner. We're devoted to authentic, iconic design, brand management, and an unconventional, irreverent spirit of fun. We're accountable to those we serve and do so with integrity and sophistication. Our stage is the world, our time is now, our name is Morgan's Hotel Group, we lead where others follow. So that ethos incorporates the 9 core values, and we say, if you want to get the card, you got to memorize it. It gets people to kind of buy in, and it's a sense of pride. And I carry a couple extra of these because they can only earn it from their general manager from me. So I've had people stop me on the street and say, I'm ready to earn my Edge card. Can I do it now? I'm like, go ahead. We're in the middle of Manhattan. But it's lots of little things like that we use to get people excited and proud of what they're a part of, and then know what that means.
Super. So we've got about 5 minutes left. Any questions before? Okay, I'd like to move a little bit about how do we make the relationship stronger, both with the agency community in general, but more in particular Valley Wilson Travel. And I thought we could do this as a rapid fire for you guys, like one quick answer of either a frustration that you have working currently with either us in particular or the industry in general, or a great idea that you have, or your wish list, any one of those components. And Kate, start with you.
Oh my goodness. What we did first and foremost to make the Morgan's Hotel Group more credible and build a stronger relationship is to build a travel industry team. So you have points of contacts, and they're all under Pauletta's leadership. So Pauletta is your first point of contact besides the hotelier salespeople.
I think it's an education process on both sides. For us who have been not really engaged with travel agencies of this stature for some period of time, we need to reopen those doors and educate each other about what the needs are at a very core. I'm not sure that the public knows about who we are, but details of that, and vice versa. So I think that's a huge opportunity for both sides.
I just have a couple things. So
Rapid fire, make it
rapid
quick.
fire. So these couple things are, we definitely want to partner with you, and one of the frustrations is actually building the loyalty and knowing that we're here for each other. What's going to have the agent choose our brand, have you choose us over someone else in a similar marketplace. I think for SoHo, for example, we can get you there April 24th. We have a client event, and I know I can make sure Dan gets everyone the invitation. We'd love to see you there. All of our general managers are attending from the different markets, and along with Dan. So it'd be great to see you at that, and I'm here to partner with you, and I think your business, the thing I think that's important and really key to take away, there's no better time to book Morgan's. Our pricing and the value is there. It really is an appropriately priced product, and I think your clients will be happy with it.
Well, mine probably is just the length of time it's taking to change old perceptions that it's just a cool, great design, but not executed very well. I think we're fighting an image with a lot of people that it wasn't really run by hoteliers with a real commitment to service.
Do you
And I
think there's an image also of it being such a party scene as a hotel, and granted, you still are fun and lifestyle driven, but do you think that's a deterrent, or how are you kind of?
Yes, I mean, we're spending, we have, probably the busiest bar I ever had in the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, did about $1.5 million a year in bar revenue. And we have, out of our 13 hotels open now, we have 6 hotels that have bars that do over $5 million a year. So, Delano is the busiest Shore Club, and so they are, it's definitely a great place to go, party and socialize. And there wasn't necessarily a commitment to soundproofing doors and windows, and, we've gone back in a lot of hotels over the last few years. Mondrian LA, we just spent a ton of money to, do soundproofing, put up a sound wall, really change sound systems, so directionally they're going.
I think that's very important what you just said, because that was actually my question.
Yeah. So, a lot of work there. We need to have busy bars and restaurants because people expect, to be able to go, socialize, but if you want to get away from it, you want to get away from it.
Because people can't sleep. I live in Soho, so I know from all the hotels there, 60 Thompson, a lot of problem, a lot of problems with neighbors, rooftop bars, so that, that situation.
Yeah.
I think if I could just add to Dan's, I know it's rapid fire, I'll talk to him in New York in a minute. But when Dan and I were speaking at ILTM as well, is I can't believe in the last year and a half, how many times at a trade show or whatever, people were like, I didn't know whether it was like a business travel trade show or group or travel industry. I didn't know you wanted our business. I thought Morgan's was, too cool for school and all that. So I'm here to tell you, we value your business. We know how critically important your promises are to your client. And we really are doing everything on the operations and the design, and the GMs are all buying into it. I mean, that's why I say to Megan, like, this is a really compelling news story to tell, because it's not just about growth. It's about changing a whole paradigm on how we approach and value who are filling our hotels.
The other thing is that, W intentionally, they said when they were designing W's, they wanted you to walk through the party to check in, right? You wanted to go through it and feel the energy. Morgan's, even back to the beginning, deliberately designed the party to be there, but that you didn't have to go through it to go check in. And the ones that we did, we just spent a lot of money in Mondrian LA to move the front desk to the other side of the lobby and flip it away from the Sky Bar, so that if you wanted to come in and check in and go to the elevators, you don't have to go through.
And it's very successful, and I think part of that is also working with the GMs, I can say that from a design point of view, is really getting their feedback, not losing sight of where we want to go with the design and still be authentic, but really listen to it. And I think that's something which hasn't been done before. We want to make sure things are comfortable and they're usable and they're maintainable, but at the same time we want to make sure we're forward thinking in design and what we put out there.
So from an agency perspective, what are your plans as part of this rapid fire question to share with us your design changes so we have a better handle of what's coming down the pipe?
Well, it's very distinct, as you said before, with the brands. So to really educate you on what the different brands are, which we can do a little bit later on this one, but then also making sure that we get the feedback. We get feedback from you of what works well, what doesn't work so well, what's well received, and what we can improve and really make things better, and then bring it back to you with a better product.
And Gary, last one, so maybe a GM perspective of working in, frustration or idea or wish list.
So firstly for me is, I want your business, I need your business, and I'm going to do all that I can. We have great physical assets, we have a great team. If you give it to me, I'm going to take it, I'm going to run with it. It's like running an island run. Just bring it to me and we can take care of it, because we want to, we have the resources, and I think it's a good fit. And we can do anything that anybody else can do, we'll just do it with a personal touch, right?
Super. Question?
Is it still under renovations?
No, it's not right now. Well, we're not really, we're looking at doing renovations there. It hasn't been touched. So I think, I don't know if you, what renovations. Oh, just a restaurant. Yeah, well, no, that's done.
Okay.
We're looking at it.
Yeah,
The question is, a couple of questions. Are you planning to get, some high-end to the virtuoso program? And also, how you're going to be sales, how we can contact the sales people, like Ritz-Carlton, Star, something like that, or, Orient Express, Bellini Club, all those things, are you in the future, are you thinking about that way that we can, you know, contact the salespeople easier way instead of each time we have to look for each card?
Right.
And something like that. And then Morgan's Hotels is a management company, right? You don't own every single hotel, do you?
No, I'll take the last one, I'll let you talk answer. So,
Sorry.
we transitioned from an owner-operator. We used to own almost everything that we operated, and in the last 2 years, I guess since we've joined, we sold Royalton, Morgan's, Sanderson and St. Martin's Lane in London. We are in the process of transaction to sell Delano and South Beach. In all these cases, we're keeping management contracts, so we still manage them. But we're morphing into a management company instead of a real estate developer. And the only one that we have left that we own is Hudson here in New York. And we just finished renovating that. At some point, we'll sell that and use those proceeds to help us grow also.
Regarding Virtuoso, we are, Clift is in Virtuoso, and Paulette and I were just looking at emails today that we are hoping to get Mondrian SoHo and Mondrian LA into Virtuoso, and then of course we are hoping for Delano, but this would all be for 14.
One last.
And then what about the contact information?
Yeah.
The contact information, we actually have, the first ever in Morgan's history, we had the marketing team design a contact of each hotel. So all 13 products are on here with your travel industry sales manager's email information. My information is on here, our UK contact, and for South America is on here as well. And I can also send this to you in PDF.
Yeah, so
and
we
I
can
can
go over
also,
it.
I think you guys have sent me, or Dan, or at least someone has sent me, I think in the past, updates to make sure on your intranet that all is correct. So we definitely want to be there, be accessible. And also just a quick thing, I'm actually in the process of looking at designing a possible on-property email. We're not ready for a STARS version program or Bellini Club yet, but when we are, we definitely have already been talking about that. So it is on the radar, but I want to make sure we're ready. We want to do it right. So
I have
thank you.
one last quick question. You said you're focusing more on service about the people that you hire. Do you have a systematic training session,
Yes,
program for
so
Morgans?
around the cultural stuff that we talked about, we completely revamped a full-day orientation program that introduces that to the employees for the first time. And then last summer, we completed Josh and his team, so we have a training manager that also worked with us with a vision. You can start to see why I'm not getting any Christmas cards from Marianne anymore. But we developed technical training manuals for every single position in the company for the first time, complete with tests, so we can certify and say, there's certain things you have to commit to memory before you can, go on the floor and take care of guests. So much more rigor and structure around the technical training as well as the cultural training. And then there's two really key, specialized training modules that we finished that we're in the process of rolling out in 2013 and we just started. One is around problem resolution. So there's a real process and method to resolving guest issues in a very sequential way. I won't get into this stuff, but we're doing very specific training on service recovery and how to train all of our guest contact employees in those skills more effectively. And the other one specialized is it's really on anticipating guest needs, teaching people all the little things that you can do that make a guest feel special. And I think, to me, I think that's the holy grail in luxury service, right? You have to have the fundamentals right, that it has to be clean, your key has to work, and you have to get your wake-up call, all those things. But the minute you start having somebody saying, by the way, I noticed you're checking out in the morning, can I print your boarding pass here? Or, you noticed they were sick and you sent chicken soup to their room, or you heard that they were going out to a Broadway show and you turned down, put a little music player with the soundtrack from the musical in their room, or handed your umbrella when it's raining. All those things that could happen without a guest ever asking, those are the things that just make you go, wow, you knew my name, or you remember my preferences, or all those things. So those are in the process of being rolled out as we speak now.
We also have one that's dedicated to leadership teams, so it's called Leadership, and it does a lot of the instruction around hiring and how important it is to be a leader, to facilitate learning your employees and gives context to what our responsibility is in their business.
And we went out, when we rolled that out to every single hotel and rolled them out ourselves. In the first orientation, we delivered ourselves to model it, and then did it with a lot of the GMs and the property teams.
Well, super. I know time's precious, both for our advisors as well as you guys. you guys were kind enough to do two drawings for us. So I think since we got the captive audience, why don't you, did everybody card in?
One card.
One, only one. Anybody else? Anybody? Okay, so, you get to pay for one nice sheet of wood.
So there's two prizes that we're giving away. One is a complimentary 2-night stay at any Morgan's Hotel.
Take my big hand out of your jar.
And then the other one is, I think we're gonna do dinner for two at Isola, so let's do that one first.
So my youngest daughter turns 18 Friday, and I told her she can pick any restaurant she wants to go to, and she wants to go to Isla. So there's an endorsement.
Wow, that is
And the winner is Joseph Petrusa.
Great.
I'll take it for him, I work with him.
Yeah, so Jose was doing it for him.
Okay, so that's the winner for Isola, and I'll see you after.
Okay.
And then this one is for a complimentary 2-night stay at any Morgan's
I
Hotel.
have to bust the jar.
Right.
You have a bowl, we have these bars, you know.
Kyoko.
Yes. All
Nice day,
YouTube that. Well, thank you from the bottom of my heart for this. Hopefully you guys got engaged and learned something from this. I think it's really amazing to see a hotel company really committed to a change, to a belief of who they are for their employees, for their guest experience, and the partnership that they have with the travel agency community. So thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you.
And the other room, and that was so feel great.